Hello everyone. Sorry about yesterday that I didn't get a video up. This will help you guys kind of like, I'm going to film at least 2 videos today, but I'm going to do a sweet barbecue pulled pork or pork loin. That's what I am using, pork loin, and I sprayed it with, or at least the rim of it, with some good old coconut cooking spray. This is non-stick. It's a little more of a better option. I have all my products. I have my recipe, and I have this on low to go ahead and warm up my crock pot. I'm going to go ahead and get started. The first thing I want to do is go ahead and add the liquid, at least at the bottom. I have a half of a cup of chicken broth, and I'm just going to cover it. You can use beef broth probably too, and that would work the same thing. It's just a nice kind of like liquid to coat. Let me get a spoon. I'm just going to use one of my daughter's spoons for this, but I have in here, in this little cup, is 2 tablespoons of honey. I might need to turn on my flash for this. Yeah, if you guys can see that, there's some honey in there. I'm just going to coat it. I love honey. It is, I'm going to rub the meat a little bit just to make sure that gets coated beautifully in there. I want to make sure there's a good glaze of that honey on there, because that's going to be to our sweet factor in it. Let me grab another spoon. I also have, I have on my recipe on here is 1 tablespoon of minced garlic. That's probably about 2 tablespoons. You can use like regular garlic of your choice. You can even grate it, chop it up yourself. This is going to give it some flavoring to help. And then I'm going to go ahead and add my barbecue in. This is also honey. It's a cup of honey, or honey barbecue sauce. I'm just going to go ahead and get it in there. And I also have a cup of brown sugar. It's the light. You can also use any other stuff. Use a spoon. That's kind of what I do to make sure like all of the stuff is all over the pork, like not just the top. Okay, we'll leave that spoon in there. Okay, now I also am going to use 3 splashes or more, you can, of the Colgan liquid smoke. This is natural mesquite, but this is really nice flavoring. 1, 2, 3. I'm just going to add 3 splashes of it. It really gives it that flavoring. Now on to the other seasonings. I love, like, you know, nice flavoring. I want to add 1 good teaspoon. I have this Chestnut Hill seasoned meat tenderizer. This you don't need, but I like it because it tenderizes the meat where it's like it falls off the bone. If it's on bone, it makes sure that, you know, it also helps if you're using a crock pot. The meat will tenderize quicker having that substitute. That's nice. I'm doing something different with this I've never done. This is 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. I use the Supreme Tradition brand. I'm doing 1 teaspoon. I might even add just not even the full teaspoon. it's just to give it a grateful kick of that spicy, but sweet, you know, flavoring, mainly because of the holidays. I'm also going to add a half teaspoon of allspice. This is ground allspice. It's a beautiful flavor, but I'm going to add just a hair bit of it, probably not the full half. You really have to go with your gut on how sweet and spicy you and your family would like this to be. I'm also going to give the stuff down here a mix. You can also bring up some of the liquid to it. This is just going to give it that rich flavoring that we want. Next, I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of salt and pepper. This is just the Kroger brand of salt. Salt and pepper, you can do it to taste. Since this is a pretty good sized meat, I'm going to do the 1 teaspoon, of course. Mix the stuff together to make sure, you know, you don't get a hunk of flavoring. I also make sure I put it in the liquid because that's going to get the bottom all flavorful. I'm also going to use chopped chives. You're going to need 2 teaspoons of this. 2 teaspoons. I love chopped chives. They give off the nicest flavoring, but it also gives a little smokiness to it for some reason. I don't know what it is. Okay, I'm also going to add 1 teaspoon of smoked or ground paprika. You can also do smoked. You can do like a sweet paprika. You can do all types. This is going to give it a little bit of spice to it too. You don't have to add all these, but it's something kind of nice to do. I'm doing 1 tablespoon of onion powder. 1 good old tablespoon of onion powder. And just splashing it all around to make sure it gets everywhere. That's going to give it its other flavoring. You can add other liquids, seasonings. Okay, and I want to show you guys what it's looking like so far. So I'm going to take this sauce. It's going to be a really thick sauce because the honey, but it will start melting, which is nice. Your house should smell delicious after this. The sauce is going to be kind of a thicker consistency. Like this is pretty thick consistency right here. But once it starts cooking, it's going to be delicious. I think I'm going to make mashed potatoes with it, or some type of potatoes. But this is how it's going to look. I'm going to stick it on high. You can do low for 6 to 8 hours, depending on how your crock pot is. This goes, like, shows like you can vary. Or high for 5 to 6. It is 1:26. My fiance should be home at 5:30, somewhere around there. Maybe close to 6. So I'm going to have it on low, and I'll come in a couple hours, like probably around 3:34, somewhere around there, and like poke it and see, poke it and make sure if it's tender or not. And if it is like really tender, it's, you know, pretty much almost there, I'll switch it to low. but it's going to be delicious. I'll have this recipe on the description below. I think it's going to be nice. You can use pork tenderloin or pork shoulder. I'm using the pork loin recipe. Well, I hope you guys like this video. I will come back and show you guys like how it's going and how it's cooking to show you the time, but it's almost 1:30. So let's see how long it takes. It's a pretty big size pork loin, as you can see in there. Alrighty, I'll see you guys in a little bit to check in. Hello YouTube, I'm back again. I showed you guys how to do this pulled pork recipe. It didn't turn out the way I kind of planned. It smells delicious. It's on warm, and I added probably less than half of a cup of like flour to a little like bowl, and I mixed in some hot water to it and made it like that milky consistency, and I added it like after I took the meat out to like cut it up into like, you know, chunks and like small pieces, and it thickened up the sauce like where it's not too runny but pretty good. I didn't add no more seasonings to it, and I'm also going ahead and making mashed potatoes. These are just the instant mashed potato flakes. I followed this recipe, except I added, of course, butter, and I added some salt, but I added probably, like, it wasn't a whole stick of butter, but like half of it, so the mashed potatoes are nice and buttery. And once I get it plated, I will show you guys the final result of tonight's dinner. And I also made these cookies today. I'll hold up one, but they are sugar cookies, plus I added hot cocoa with marshmallows to them. I'm going to pipe on some icing, so hopefully that all turns out. I'm getting ready to throw in for my mashed potatoes, but my butter's not melted quite a bit. Got a mess and a half in the kitchen, but I gotta get this butter melted pretty much all the way. I have it on high. Just gonna mix it a little bit, and then I will come back to show you guys how it's plated and how everything is turning out.